Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. On today's show, we're talking about labor. Not the good kind of labor where babies are born. We're talking about the players and the owners meeting this week and how things should be better. They should be better. We'll talk about all of that.
But are they ever going to get better?
I don't know. And the Yankees announced that they're going to retire another number. They're going to have to issue fractions soon. We'll let you know who is getting that honor next on Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias, joined by my co-host Abbey and and you're listening and watching Locked On Yankees. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wednesday, Abbey. How are you?
Oh, it's been a week already. I feel like the last few weeks I've just been, all I have to do is like refigure my stories. Like all my I feel like I've had these story ideas that I've been working on for like a month, and then things go wrong, and it's like all of a sudden it's like one after another, and I'm having to like audible on all of them right before deadlines. It's so great.
Oh no.
So great. Well,
yeah, part of me misses my baseball writing, and then the other part of me doesn't miss it that much. It's been a while since I've written anything substantial, and I'm almost afraid to even attempt to do it. But part of me is thinking that I might want to try. So if anyone's out there and has read my writing and knows how I freelance and needs someone to write, reach out to me. All of my info is on the screen. And if you're listening, Stay Scott's on Twitter. That's the easiest way to find me.
I need an easier Twitter name. My last name's my first name's complicated too. My parents thought they were being cool by naming me after a Beatles album, and nobody spelled my first name right ever since. And it's not like Mastracco is an easy name to spell or say in the first place.
Right, because we both have large last names, and our first names are, mine's 6 letters, yours is 5 letters. We have the extraneous E because everyone's always misspelling Stacey my entire life. Even my cousins who have known me since birth still spell my name wrong. I
have been better at Twitter. I'm still terrible at Twitter, honestly. Like I tweet things with like so many typos and I forget words. That's actually mostly what I do. I forget words, and then like the whole thing doesn't make sense. If I was better at Twitter years ago, when I jumped on the Twitter bandwagon, I would have tried to get some version of like Abbey Road. Abbey Road and some numbers. I don't know. I'm not going to be like, those trolls in our mentions. It's like Joey 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But like Abbey Road and like, I don't know, a number, 2 numbers maybe, or like maybe, I don't know. I just, if anybody has any suggestions on like an easier Twitter name,
ooh,
just drop them in my mentions.
Yeah. Or, drop them in the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Easier Twitter, Abbey Mastracco. It's complicated.
Speaking of YouTube, you can watch us and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're approaching 750 subscribers. Pretty cool. And you can listen to us in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, and every other podcasting platform available. There are a ton of them. You can find us everywhere. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Yankees. Speaking of playing, nice segue. Looks like baseball won't be played for a while.
No, I don't think so. It's not really looking promising. The league asked for a mediator again today, and the union rejected it. And I mean, reading Jesse Rogers and Evan Drellick, who are on the ground, it's looking bleak, guys. I mean, Jesse says the league was, wait for it, underwhelmed today. Not thrilled the union went backwards on minimum, and the Super 2 issue is a non-starter for them. So to sum up, union feels like they moved a little, just like the league did yesterday. League feels like adding money to the minimum is moving in the wrong direction. Any movement on Super 2 that isn't status quo is also moving in the wrong direction. That's like, no, the right direction is for both people to meet in the middle.
Yeah,
like,
that's not happening.
The league is going like this, or no, the players union is going like this, and the league is going like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
not how we get here in the middle to a contract that gets us baseball.
And it was so funny because everyone was so hopeful about, oh, they're going to be
Meeting
meeting
every
next week
day.
and they're going to meet every day. And, they have until February 28th and that's the deadline. And maybe they can get something done. And it just, it's February 23rd. So there's 5 days until the deadline in which not everything blows up. It's just they won't be able to start the season
We won't be
right
able to
on
start the
time.
season on time, which sure you could say everything blows up.
Yeah.
That should be a drop dead deadline, except I don't think the league is seeing it that way. I think the
Right.
league is seeing it at, look, I'm not on the ground. I'm not reporting on this. So like maybe I'm off base, but the league, it just doesn't seem like they're going to budge. And I think they're hoping that the players will cave because they want to start the season. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like, at least. And I
Oh,
hate
yeah, no, it
saying
does.
that. I hate conjecture. I
Right.
like facts, but I'm not on the ground. It's hockey season. I've got a hockey game on up here. Also, it seems like the league is sort of banking on the players union, the players association saying, okay, we give up, let's play. But they could play under the terms of the last CBA, but the owners locked them out to jumpstart negotiations that are not even negotiations as it is. It's just the league saying, no, we hear you, but we don't want what you want.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of like, most of my relationships. No, I'm just kidding.
That's funny. It's so true, though. It really is. It's like the owners are a guy and the players are a lady trying to
begging
get
for
things
the bare
done.
minimum. The players are the women begging for the bare minimum. And and the guy's like, no, sorry, I can't go. I can't be your +1 to your best friend's wedding. Like, I gotta play video games or something. Like, it's just too much money to put on a suit that I already have.
Oh God, that's so funny. It's so true though. And it is a lot of conjecture, but they're not doing themselves any favors, the owners.
No, they're not. But if you look at some of these Twitter responses, you still see a lot of people who are like, this is millionaires versus billionaires. So clearly the players' way of framing, or not the players, the league's way of framing it, blaming the players, is
still working. Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of angry fans who don't grasp the nuances of it. They haven't really been following the nitty gritty. It's tough to follow everything. I mean, especially if you're not a lawyer.
Right.
A lot of this is legalese that the average fan, the casual fan, is not going to be able to fully understand, which is why there are really great reporters like Evan Drellick and Jesse Rogers, Jeff Passan. I saw The Athletic put out an explainer of some common terms that are being thrown around that are not always common terms in terms of what's going on right now, but not always common just in everyday baseball.
Right.
And I thought that was very interesting way to go about it. And it was really helpful. I would highly recommend looking up that explainer to sort of educate yourself on what's going on right now if you've just sort of been casually following what's going on, because it's really easy to get bored with some of this labor terminology and legalese. I said it last week, I'm bored with it, and I can't get bored with it because I'm a reporter and it's my job to know what's going on. But the league is banking on players looking bad in all of this, and it's kind of working. It's not working with everybody. There are a lot of people who know what's going on. They're living and dying with every one of Drellick's tweets. But the casual fans who just want to see baseball back, they just want to go to a game and sit with their hot dog and a beer. They don't. They think that this is millionaires versus billionaires, and it's not. The minimum salary is pretty important to a lot of players who are not making millions of dollars and may never make millions of dollars in their career. The minimum salary is pretty important. Super too important. And if you really, it just looks like the owners are being petty right now, if you ask me, at least. And I know that I'm probably going to get a couple scouts who are going to message me and be like, you're wrong, but from my perspective right now, it looks like the owners are being petty. It looks like the players are making concessions and the owners are just saying make more concessions, make more concessions, make more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been like that since the beginning. It feels like it's been like that since the beginning. But I really don't feel like I know the players want to play. They keep saying that. Obviously, they want to play. They don't want to miss games. But I feel like they're not going to cave much more. I feel like
I get the impression that they're going to dig in their heels,
mm-hmm.
and then what happens? What are the owners going to do then? What is the league going to do then? When their plan, if that is the league's plan to not plan, but if they are sort of banking on these guys want to play, they'll cave, and then they don't cave.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what happens? Is that when they start to negotiate? Because at that point, like, you've built up a whole lot of resentment and done yourself no favor, no goodwill, not a lot of goodwill with the public or the Players Association. So, like, if they're just waiting for the players to cave and then they don't, then what's plan B?
Right. Yeah. I say it all the time.
There's so many players left in limbo because of this too. Like
right.
Players that didn't get signed, that are for free agents, that can't audition. They're trying to gauge the international markets. And that's a difficult thing to do. Do you pick up your family and move to Korea?
Mm-hmm.
Do you move to Mexico? Do you just, go play in Mexico for a few months? This is how it works. If you are a minor leaguer who didn't get a contract at the start of spring training and you're trying to play your way onto a team, but usually you use the winter to sort of, you audition for teams, you go to Driveline, and there's some showcases happening right now, but there's a lot of teams left in this like 40-man limbo that can't even be approached by teams, and like teams aren't making a lot of roster moves because they don't know. They're everything's just sort of hanging in the balance.
Right.
And you can make minor league moves right now. You can sign guys to minor league contracts right now. But if you don't know what your major league roster looks like, why are you trying to sign? It just doesn't always make sense for every team to be signing a guy who is like a AAA stopgap, who's going to probably make a few major league starts. He's like an insurance number 5 guy or like an insurance utility infielder. If you don't know what your major league team is going to be, then I understand not making any minor league moves right now. So there's a lot of players who don't know what their future is right now. And they're getting money from that, player assistant stipend. But that's not, it's really tough to live day to day, month to month, and not know where the checks are going to come from or how long they're going to last. And if you need to move your family to another country, it's really tough for a lot of these players who are not established major leaguers. So don't give me this millionaires versus billionaires line. I'm so sick of seeing it on Twitter. I'm so sick of hearing fans talk about it. My uncle was talking about it the other day, and I had to just be like, okay, goodbye. I enjoyed catching up with you, but we are not going to get into this discussion. I don't have the energy to tell you. I will send you a few articles so that you are better informed, but I get the impression that you do not want to read them because you like this trite argument that you think, the common man is making. It's just, no. Go read up on the situation and then come back and tell me how you feel. It's affecting a lot of people. It's a domino effect. And I'm ready for it to end. I know everybody else is ready for it to end, but like, I'm ready to talk about something new. And like every day, this is all we have. This is like the most baseball-ish stuff we have to talk about. And it is important.
Right.
Baseball-ish. That sort of downplays the situation. But like, man, I want to talk about like
Built Bar?
RBI. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Built Bar. I did just come back from the gym, and I could use some protein. I could use a bar. Let's build those muscles.
Yes. Built Bar has a product called Puffs. Okay. It's not your typical protein bar. It's actually a marshmallow puff, and it's covered in chocolate, and it is so good. It's a protein-infused marshmallow, and oh my goodness, it's so good. The cinnamony, I said it right, churro is the best one out of all the puffs, but they have coconut marshmallow, they have banana cream pie, and then the rest of the Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, puffs included, and they're all low calorie, high protein. They're good for you. They taste good, and you feel like you're being bad when you eat them because they taste like candy bars. You have mint brownie, coconut almond, and this month, February. We're still in February. White chocolate cookies and cream. Every bar is delicious. New flavors are coming out all the time. And if Built thinks that a flavor might be good, they'll make it and they'll let you know about it. So go to Built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order, no matter which order it is. Could be your first, could be your 500th, if you're like me. Again, go to Built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen of the day. Make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects, hosted by Lindsey Crosby. He's been on the show. He had a lot of good things to say about our prospects, and Fangraphs had some good things to say about some of the Yankee prospects, and so did, I believe, ESPN. So things are, when people start playing again, the future looks pretty okay for the Yankees prospects-wise. Other Yankee stuff, quickly. I teased it in the cold open. Let's just talk about it now. They announced today that Paul O'Neill's number is going to be retired. 20 years after the man retired, his number is finally being retired. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because it's getting to the point where if baseball is still played in 50 years, well, all right, let me go back.
Well, the Yankees will have retired like 100, 200 numbers by then.
But maybe not, because maybe we're in that stretch where the Yankees aren't so great and they're not going to have to retire all these numbers. I mean, they might retire 99 if Judge is a lifelong Yankee and does great things for them. But, it's not going to be like the dynasty years where you had a number of players that were worthy of this honor. But I just find it funny that it took this long for them to do it. There was a lot of controversy when LaTroy Hawkins came over and wore 21 for like 2 days. And how dare he? Oh, it was just ridiculous. But
my dad literally just texted me like while you were doing your Built Bar read. Like my dad just texted me and said, was his Yankees career that outstanding? Like capitalized at that. And was it? I mean,
he was fine. He was a good player, he was a good right fielder for the time that he played with the Yankees for those 7 seasons that he was with 7, 8. But yeah, it feels like he's part of the dynasty teams. We might as well retire his number thing.
There is something special about commemorating the dynasty teams, but at the same time, like
they're going to have to issue fractions soon, or decimals,
and
or
what's
triple
he's
digits.
His number's being retired, but he's not getting a plaque in Monument Park.
I think he already has one.
Okay, the headline.
I think
the headline somebody sent me was funny because I've just been buried in hockey stuff today. So like other than labor stuff, I have not really stopped to look at Paul O'Neill. But a friend sent this to me earlier, and it says the Yankees are retiring Paul O'Neill's number in Monument Park, which is different from giving him a plaque in Monument Park, which they already did. Okay, yes, there. And also different from giving him a monument in Monument Park, which they haven't done, even though a monument involves a plaque.
Right, and it's funny, the defector did like a Venn diagram of 3 circles, and it was like, these guys have plaques, these guys' numbers were retired, and these guys actually have monuments, and it's...
Like, there's a lot of special ways to honor varying levels of special Yankees, isn't there? Usually teams are just like, lift that number up and we're good. But no, with the Yankees, you have different tiers of that you can be honored for.
It's so funny. It's ridiculous, but it's funny.
We're going to give you the monument package.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, why not? No one's worn 21, right? I mean, they kind of made it so people couldn't really wear it, and they might as well have just retired it. So, yeah.
Yes, okay, so a few years ago when I was working in another city, I will not say the sport, and I will not say the teams involved, but one team announced the number retirement for somebody largely considered a legend in the sport.
Okay.
And the other team in the market likes attention and wanted to take the attention away from that number retirement. So they announced that they were retiring somebody's number on the same night. The league then said, you can't do that. So then they retired somebody's number a few nights later. And it was like such a hastily put together ceremony, whereas the first one that was like planned for months at a time was a really great ceremony and had like all these people that came into town. And they were two very different ceremonies. And one who was retired was a legend, and the other who was retired was a great guy. But we were all kind of like, huh, his number? And it was just when like talking to people in marketing and talking to people, it was like very clear as the weeks went on, and the reporters in this market were trying to, write preview stories and talk to both the guys whose numbers were being retired, talking to people around the organization. It was like, oh, one team just wanted attention. That's what it was.
That's so funny.
They were petty.
That's so funny.
And I like the Yankees aren't a petty team like that. They're the Yankees. They don't need to take the attention away from anybody. And like, if anything, the Mets are always trying to take their attention away, and it never works out for the better. Like it just ends up in like disaster. But like, why? Like he was a good Yankee.
Yeah.
He might have been a great Yankee, but is he a legendary Yankee?
Right.
That's the thing.
That's
like,
the
that's
question.
To me,
Mo, yes. Jeter, obviously. Out of
core four, the entire core four.
Yeah.
Retire them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like,
and Bernie too, because Bernie always gets the shaft, and Bernie was a great Yankee for nearly the entire time. And he was on the crappy teams at the start of the 90s, and he rode his way through the dynasty. And I feel like he always gets the shaft, and that annoys me.
Like the one thing that I feel like I remember Paul O'Neill for is the Seinfeld episode.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what I remember. And he does a great job of broadcasting, but like
you told him I was going to hit 2 home runs. Who tells someone I'm
going
to hit them 2 home runs?
How he feels about Paul O'Neill's number being retired? Like, I think George Costanza at this point is like probably an authority on these things.
Yeah.
Can somebody ask Jason Alexander how he feels?
Yeah, it was funny too, because why didn't I see it right away? I can't remember what was I doing? Oh, I was writing today. I was in like a writing zone, and I wasn't really paying attention to stuff. And one of the other Locked On hosts was like, "Hey, Stace, did you see this?" And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I saw the email from the Yankees, and I was like, "I will read this later. I have 1,000 other things I need to do right now."
Yeah.
And yeah, and then a friend sent me that defector headline, and I was like, "Huh."
Yeah.
And now my dad's texting me about it. So like, maybe we really do need to examine this further.
Yeah, maybe we do. We might have to. We might have to, because I really wish my dad was around for this, because I kind of would like to know
what constitutes. And I guess every organization has a different sort of threshold for like what constitutes a number retirement. Like I was talking with the Devils when I was still covering the Devils. No, actually it was not when I was covering the Devils. It was just a casual because now that I think about it, the pandemic has warped my sense of time, like we lost 2 years of our lives.
Oh yeah, it's done it to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I stopped covering them early in the pandemic. So I was out in Newark at a Devils practice, earlier this season. Brian Cashman's favorite team. So we're keeping this Yankees related. And Travis Zajac retired to take a position with the organization. He's helping run like learn to play programs and stuff like that. And I had asked somebody in the organization, is there consideration for retiring his number? And they said, it's been discussed. It'll probably continue to be discussed, but he didn't win a Stanley Cup. And this is a team with a kind of a storied history, and they've only retired a handful of numbers, and the numbers that have been retired were people on those Cup teams.
Right.
So, and then Ken Danico, who, yes, he was on the Cup teams, but he's Mr. Devil. Like nobody loves the Devils like Ken Danico.
Yeah.
And he's just like, his heart and soul lies with that team. So like, yes, that's somebody whose number you do want to retire. The franchise means so much to him, and he means so much to the franchise as well. Zajac was on some really good Devils teams, and he did play in a Stanley Cup final, but he did not win a Stanley Cup. So for some teams, the threshold is how good of a player were you on a team that won a championship?
Which, if we're looking at O'Neill, then
he was on a couple championship teams.
He was
But
on
where does he rank with some of those other players on those championship teams?
4 of them, 96, 98, 99, 2000.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he was a great Yankee who won 4 World Series. So, like,
it's the whole warrior thing. Steinbrenner called him a warrior, and, they always play that package when they show his highlights at Yankee Stadium still.
Do.
And, he's remembered for, especially in 96, he was playing on a bad hamstring. He made that incredible catch at the end of game 5. Yeah, the 1-0 game that sealed the win, brought it back to Yankee Stadium. They ended up winning the game. He had his moment in the outfield in game 5 against Arizona because everyone knew that it was his last season, and they chanted his name. And that was really, I was watching that game or listening to that game on a ride down to North Carolina and hearing the chant through the radio and knowing, because I was at the game the night before, how loud that stadium gets. I was like, oh my God, I had chills. From that standpoint, he was a pretty good Yankee, and he was part of those teams, and he played a pretty big role on those teams. So I could see it from that standpoint. But I just find it so funny that it took 20 years to do it.
It took 20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you have me convinced now. But, like, I guess if they're doing the tiered, packages.
Right.
He's got the base level number retirement plaque package.
Yeah, he has, like, the Sunday plan. He doesn't have, like, the full season package.
Yeah.
Like Mo and...
You've sold me. You've sold me. My dad will listen to this tomorrow, I'm sure, and hopefully you will sell him on it as well.
Okay.
You know what, though? I have to say this because I've been a part of so many number retirements. I just was a part of Henrik Lundqvist's ceremony at the Garden, and it means so much to the players.
Right.
They get these former teammates in one place for the first time in years. They get to get up in front of fans and talk about their greatest moments and, like,
actually thank the fans, right?
Yeah, thank the fans and relive their greatest moments and talk about how those moments impacted them. And it's special because, like, fans for fans, like, those moments had an impact on them too. So to hear that, like, there's a shared bond of how their favorite sports moments also impacted their favorite player, that's pretty special. And it's a really cool thing if you do it right. I've been to a couple that I was like, these are forgettable. And I've been to a few that I was like, this was really cool. Henrik Lundqvist was fantastic. He's a great speaker. I thought Sam Rosen emceeing it was really good. And also like, the broadcasters become almost like another family member. They're in your living room every night, and I love, it's such an underrated aspect of some of the jersey retirement ceremonies. Like, I think you should have the broadcasters, the longtime broadcasters, as the MCs. It just really adds, like, the broadcasters are the bridge from the players to the fans.
Yep.
And so it's a really cool way to present it to fans, and it just has, like, a really cool emotional aspect of it. Henrik's was great. It wasn't too long. I've been to a few of them where, like, they're just going out. The speeches are going on and on and on and on, and I don't even know what to write from those speeches because they're so long. He had a couple really good stories, and the other one that stands out to me, Teemu Selanne's, was amazing with the Ducks years ago. He told a really cool story about, actually it was Yari Curry who told the story about, he loaned a young Teemu Selanne his car, a very fancy sports car, a race car, and Teemu returned it with no more tread on the tires. And then to repay, this is like, so Teemu, knowing that, a Finnish superstar took him under his wing when Sami Vatanen was called up to the Ducks when Teemu was still playing, he loaned Sami a Mercedes, and it got towed during the Sochi Olympics.
Oh, no.
So Sami parked it in a zone that he couldn't park it in. And he, like, when Sami was traded to the Devils, we were talking about stuff about Teemu one day, and he was like, did he ever tell you about that time I got his car towed?
Oh my gosh.
No.
That's funny.
Tell me a story about you on the golf course that I can't repeat, but no, they're both very good golfers, but so, like, you do hear some really cool things that come out of these retirement ceremonies, and, like, it's going to be cool to get the dynasty guys back together and hear some of those stories again and sort of relive some great Yankee moments in history and really great sports moments in history too. So as much as like, yeah, it's another number and it's 20 years later, it's
Yeah,
probably very meaningful to Paul O'Neill, and it's going to be meaningful to the guys on the field when they're all back together.
sure. Now, speaking of sports, and you were talking about hockey, football's over, but basketball's still happening. You got pro stuff, you got college stuff, and from the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land. Do we have any other fired coaches? I know there have been a few. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to, well, the Olympics are over. So no more Olympic coverage. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. I was going to say something about the number retirement stuff. I went to one. Who did I go to? Who got a plaque? Wait a minute. Oh, I was at an old timers day where they surprised Willie Randolph with a plaque. And he had no idea that he was getting it. And then he had this speech where he was rambling for like 20 minutes. And he was starting to repeat himself. And I was like, oh, he's repeating himself now. Someone, get the hook. Take him off the field. It was like, okay, we got to go. They have a game to play. Let's go. Yeah, that was 2015. And that was a weird old timers day because it was before a 7:00 game. Usually old timers day is on a Saturday or Sunday, and it's usually like 11 in the morning, and then the afternoon game starts around 2. Mm-hmm. And it was a rainy, foggy, gross day. It was the night after A-Rod got his 3,000th hit, and they were playing the Tigers, and they beat up on the Tigers. They won like 15-3, something crazy like that. And my mom and I were at the stadium for like 7 hours and passing out on the subway on the way home from Old Timers Day. But one funny story I'll say from that day. Mel Stottlemyre also was honored that day. And, we all knew he was sick. He had been sick for a while. And after he finished his speech, they were transitioning from Old Timers Day into the regular game, and they always play Still the One by Orleans. That was my song with my dad. My dad had only passed away the previous October. So as soon as the song started playing, I started bawling. And my mom was comforting me, and in my head I'm going, these people probably think I'm crying about Mel Stottlemyre. And I was so embarrassed because I completely lost it in the middle of Yankee Stadium. Wow. And I still kind of do when I hear that song because they play it every Old Timers Day. But I just thought that was really funny. Speaking of Yankee stuff, let's talk about this. Cameron Maybin is being hired by Yes. And the importance of this is I suggested Cameron Maybin as a possible analyst back in January on Twitter. I said, maybe they can try and get Cece or Curtis Granderson or Cameron Maybin. And no, I didn't mean for all of them to have C first names, but it just happened to be that way. And I got a DM, I won't say from whom, but I got a DM from a major person at the Yes Network who said, you called it ahead of all of us in early January, and he did really well in his audition game, so good on you for knowing that. And I just wanted to give myself props because I thought that was really cool.
She's feeling very proud of herself, very proud.
I am, because, people don't ever tell me I do anything good. So I was like, hey,
look, you're...
I know, like I'm never ahead of any game, so I was very excited about that. No, but in all honesty, I think he'll do a really good job. I'm excited about Beltran. They announced him; he's going to be on Yes, because they had to, fix some things because Cohn's not going to be doing as many games, and Kenny Singleton retired, and it's just going to be a whole different Yes Network. But I'm excited about the fact that they're making it more diverse by bringing both Beltran and Cameron Maybin on. That's awesome. And younger, because they're not very old. I mean, Beltran's younger than me, and Maybin's young. He's not like he was 45 when he retired. So, I'm pretty excited about the season if it starts at some point. in maybe April.
Let's hope.
I know, really. Ugh. And like we were saying
Every day,
earlier, it
the
was
league just damaging its own brand even more.
it was just so funny because like we were saying, everyone was kind of like, okay, they said they're going to meet every day next week and try and get stuff
Nothing.
done.
There's just so much resentment on each. Although I did see a tweet today that said like there was more talk about progress today and less resentment. Which
is
yeah,
better.
you probably got to put aside some feelings, but like the further and further we get, it's going to be tough.
I know what I wanted to bring up. Did you see the open letter from the National Fans Union to MLB Commissioner Robert Manfred?
I didn't know there was a National Fans Union.
Neither did I. They put a full-page ad in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Okay, I'm going to read this because I saw it on Twitter earlier, and I was like, Commissioner Robert D. Manfred, R-E, your lockout of MLB. On December 2nd, 2021, you published an open letter to the fans about the Major League Baseball lockout. Obviously, you never intended for the fans to respond, but we accept your invitation to the conversation. Fans don't need one-way declarations about your cancellation of the sport we love. If you're going to collectively bargain over how to best divvy up our money, what we really want is to be heard and respected. We want a seat at the table. Without us, decisions will be made with only the billionaire owners and millionaire players in mind, not the fans whose support makes the entire enterprise possible. With us, MLB has an opportunity to change the conversation and turn this labor dispute into a historic calling in of the group most often disregarded. It's time for fans to be part of the conversation over how our dollars should be spent and how our favorite pastimes treat us. To all fans of MLB or professional sports who agree that fans have been ignored for far too long, please join us. Our strength lies in our numbers. It's time for fans to be more than spectators.
Okay, good luck with that. Yeah, you are the ones making the enterprise go around, and it is your money. However, you have already decided how to spend your money, so you don't get further decisions on where your money is allocated because you gave you to Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You gave your money to the New York Yankees. The Yankees then get to decide where your money goes from there. You forfeited that right. Look. Yeah. I know that sometimes it feels like you're screaming into a Twitter void. Keep that energy up and let's get towards something like, marketing personalities, pitch clocks.
Yes.
That's a good one. Maybe robo-umps. Let's use it to change the sport for good in a more entertaining way. Dollar cents, I don't think that's necessarily your area.
I just thought it was so funny. I quote tweeted it with a funny screenshot from Degrassi, The Next Generation, of someone scratching their head like, because I was like, I mean, yeah, sure. But I don't know. That's just goofy. I just can't even imagine. I want to know who the guy is that wrote that, because it was a guy. There's no way a woman wrote that.
Yeah, of course.
Oh God, that's so funny. I just think it's funny. I mean, I know fans get angry at stuff, and I mean,
I know, yeah, and
prices are out of control.
Because fans get attached.
Oh yeah, we do. We do. But this is just, oh God, it's just a mess. And Rob Manfred's not going to care. He's not going to care. He barely cares when the players do anything. He's not going to care about
the owners.
Yeah, I mean, they're really not going to care.
Dick
but I just thought that was really funny. Yeah. Dick Monfort and his purple outfits. I'm the Rockies owner. I'm going to wear my colors. Some people were joking about, they're like, oh, why is he, representing the owners? And then other people were like, he's the moron that let Nolan Arenado go. So no, keep him in the negotiations. Maybe he'll screw up enough where the players will get some leverage. No offense. I don't know Mr. Monfort, but I just thought that was really funny. The Rockies, who did nothing during the trade deadline. And I said this on the show around that time. Our Locked On Rockies host was on the trade deadline show, and he just couldn't even speak. He's like, I have nothing to say. I can't even speak. I can't believe we didn't do anything. He goes, how did we not do anything?
The rationale
and the rest of us are just
so
like,
bad. Well, now we get to keep Nolan our extra few months. How great.
Yeah.
You got no assets in return, and he's walking.
It's like, oh my God. Oh man. Just
be a buyer, be a seller, do something.
Mm-hmm.
Do something to make your ball club better.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So the players and the owners will be meeting again, and we will find out if anything good happens. The one good thing is, and they made this point on Twitter, I believe Evan Drellich made this point, that it doesn't matter how long they meet. Because, the other day we were all joking about how they only met for 15 minutes, and I was trying to come up with a clean way of making a sex joke, and I couldn't do it. There I go. And
you really did, though.
I really did. And they said that, a lot of the times they're not even really meeting with each other. Like, they meet for a few minutes, and then they go with their separate ways, and they, do things with, like, the union will do stuff, and the union reps will do stuff, and the owners' reps will do, and then they'll meet again. So it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the meetings. So I don't know. I don't see anything good coming out of this. I feel like it's they're getting our hopes up again, and then they're just going to come crashing down. Like, they got our hopes up before the week, and by the end of this week, I feel like it's just going to be like. It's going to be like the new roller coaster at Tampa Busch Gardens, people. Look it up on YouTube. It's called Iron Gwazi. Or Gwazi? Yeah. The new thing that everyone does now at amusement parks. They don't knock down the old wooden coasters. They turn them into wooden steel hybrids and give them crazy 200-foot drops with a 91-degree first drop that goes in a little bit and then straight down. That's what I feel like we're on this week. We're going up the lift hill. Woo! Everything's so exciting. Woo! And then it's just going to drop us. Woo! All the way down. We're going to brown out at the bottom. And then all of a sudden we're going to wake up and we're going to be in another turn and be freaked out. So, yeah, that's what the labor stuff is like for me. It's like a freaking wooden steel hybrid roller coaster that I don't want to be in.
That's why you got to be like me, and you got to just not have any emotional attachment. And you just have to say, it's going to be bad. And then that's it.
Yeah.
I was like,
what can you do?
There's no roller coaster for me. I was level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't take it. It's just ridiculous. So the rest of this week, I don't know what we're going to do. I really don't, because what are we going to, I was jokingly going to, and I'll tell the listeners and viewers right now, I was going to have us jokingly pretend that games were actually happening and be like, oh, the Yankees are going to be playing on Saturday, and here's who we think are going to play, and then these are the minor league guys who are going to be there, and make it like it's actually happening. And then I thought, that's too much work. I'm not going to do that. Let's just hope that tomorrow is better. If they meet again on Friday, it's better. Let's just cross our fingers that it doesn't get worse. Let's just hope that, maybe things aren't going to be great, but they don't take 3 steps back. You know what I mean? That we don't get to the point where they were like it was during 2020, because I don't want to see that. That was ridiculous, and that's what I was afraid of happening. So let's just hope that doesn't happen, because that won't be fun for anyone. Mm-mm. Hi, I'm scrolling. I apologize. So that's it for this episode of Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Abby and I would like to remind you that you can listen to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, we're slowly approaching 750. That's a pretty cool number. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Bets. Make your second listen of the day Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. One more thing, if you could be so kind, please rate the podcast and spread the word about this podcast to your fellow Yankee fans. We would really appreciate it. Enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.